Hello, and welcome to Scream Scene, the horror movie podcast where we watch every horror movie ever made in chronological order, and then we rank them from best to worst. My name's Ben.
And I'm Sarah.
Thank you for listening today. Sarah, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. It's a pretty rainy summer day, which has caused some naps to happen. Twist my rubber arm. Oh no. How are you today?
I'm pretty good. It was my birthday last weekend, and we had a big party with all of my friends. It was a lot of fun. And I don't know if we got a chance to really... So we've watched a lot of good movies lately.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we had really a chance to talk about this in the last episode, because the last episode was so big. It was Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. There was a lot to talk about. But we did see Backrooms, and we really liked it.
Yeah, very much enjoyed, very impressed with pretty much every element of it.
Yeah.
And all big props out to practical effects going on in that movie. I think they really took it to the next level. Which
is really impressive given that it's based on a series of YouTube shorts that were made entirely in Blender. Mm-hmm. That they were then no, let's go super practical for the feature film. If by the time this episode comes out, you can still see Backrooms in your area in theaters, I would totally recommend going. I thought it would be good, and then it was much better than I thought it would be. Great visuals and mood and atmosphere, and also really great control of theme. I was very impressed given that it's made by a 20-year-old director. So go check that out. We've seen a lot of really cool movies lately. And who knows, maybe tonight's movie will join those ranks.
Yeah, we'll see. Last night we watched, for reasons I won't get into, we had a double feature of the second Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie from 1991, Secret of the Ooze, followed by Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
It was a Ben pick and then a Sarah pick.
And so we'll see in the range of those two movies where this movie fits in. What are we watching tonight?
Tonight, Sarah, we are watching El Barón del Terror from 1962, directed by Chano Urueta.
What was the last movie we saw from Urueta?
Well, the last time we saw one of his films, it was El Espejo de la Bruja, which was fairly recent. We covered fairly recently, The Witch's Mirror.
Right.
This movie is one that I have seen a lot of people talk about. Oh. It gets reviewed a lot. It's kind of well known as a cult classic. If the people looking at it are more familiar with the American dubbed version, then it's kind of a camp cult classic. It's been done on riff tracks. I've heard a lot about this. In America, it was released as the BRAINIAC, so you might know it by that title. But despite all of that infamy around it, I couldn't really find a ton of information on the actual production of the film.
Oh.
But it does involve the participation of a lot of people we've seen before, and that can kind of give us an idea of what to expect. So yes, the last Chano Urueta film we saw was El Espejo de la Bruja. We ranked that film at number 197 on our list, which has over 300 films on it now. I think this might be the last true horror movie that we'll see from Urueta. After this, he mostly stuck to the Blue Demon series, which was sort of a competitor to the El Santo series of luchador adventure movies, which often had sci-fi or horror elements, but are more similar to superhero movies, generally speaking. Urueta retired from filmmaking in 1974 and passed away 5 years later at the age of 75.
I don't know if you've already looked into this, but will we be watching any of those Blue Demon?
No, or we're not going to be watching the El Santo movies either. There's like 10 million of them.
Sure.
It would be like trying to be watching the Godzilla movies as part of this podcast as well, where we only watched the first one. But also even like the initial entries in those series aren't horror movies. It's like Batman versus Dracula. It's like, sure, Dracula shows up, but like it's not a horror movie. It's a Batman movie, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Just curious.
Another familiar face is this movie's producer and star, Abel Salazar. We last saw him in El Hombre y el Monstruo in 1959, which we ranked at number 102. But he's been producing a lot of horror movies that he doesn't star in, such as El Espejo de la Bruja. This time he is our title character and therefore our lead villain, which I'm kind of interested in seeing because a lot of the times he's the hero in these pictures.
Yeah, but I guess it makes sense. He has kind of that stately Baron look to him.
There are some other familiar faces here in the cast. Ariadna Welter is the female lead, and we last saw her in The Devil's Hand, which we ranked at number 293. That was a movie about the cult of Gamba, I think, that was led by Commissioner Gordon out of a doll shop. It was like an American film.
Oh, yeah.
And she was also the female lead in El Vampiro, way back in the day.
Oh, yes.
Which we have ranked at number 83.
I think that might be one of the higher ones.
Yes. El Vampiro also starred Abel Salazar, of course. And Ariadna Welter was actually the sister of Hollywood actress Linda Christian, and therefore the sister-in-law of Tyrone Power. And speaking of El Vampiro, the vampire himself, Herman Robles, has a small role in this picture, as does Mauricio Garces, the Mexican Clark Gable, who we last saw in El Mundo de los Vampiros, which we ranked at number 303.
I think that might be the lowest ranked one.
Yeah.
Like of the horror movies out of Mexico.
Yeah. So a lot of people who've been in a lot of these Abel Salazar starring or produced films before, very much in that tradition.
Stepping outside of vampires.
Yes. For a very weird premise that I think gets a little buck wild, which is part of why this movie's like very well known.
Okay.
So this was released November 9th, 1962 in Mexico, and it was picked up for release in the United States and dubbed by K. Gordon Murray Productions. This is the same producer who had brought the Aztec Mummy movies to the U.S., as well as the Mexican vampire movies, The Witch's Mirror, and many, many other Mexican films, including the highly successful Mexican Santa Claus movies. Murray renamed this film to the BRAINIAC, and it is in that form dubbed that it became very well known and a cult classic on late night US TV. So for like a certain age of person, this is kind of a cult classic movie. In like the post late night TV era, I guess you could say, it's kind of become a little bit forgotten. But it was eventually featured in an episode of Riff Tracks. So it's in that very like Mystery Science Theater sort of mold.
Yeah.
But today it is available from Powerhouse Films on their Indicator line of Blu-rays, which have a very strong selection of classic Mexican horror, in fact. And you can pick this up, I believe it's in the Mexican Macabre box set, which also includes movies like Misterios de Ultratumba and others.
Okay.
And that Blu-ray actually has both its original Spanish language version as well as the English dub track.
Okay. Which will we be watching?
As is usual for our preference, we'll be watching the original Spanish Mexican version of the movie.
That makes sense. Sometimes we end up watching the English version of the thing if we can't access.
Yeah, but our usual preference is to go for the original version of the film.
And were there any like cuts made?
I believe there were cuts made, but there weren't American footage scenes shot and inserted in, which has certainly happened with other Mexican horror movies.
Okay. Cool. Well, folks, hopefully you can find a copy of either that Indicator Blu-ray or find a copy online somewhere so you can watch along. You're going to hear a brief musical interlude, and when we come back, we will discuss El Baron del Terror from 1962, directed by Chano Urueta.
See you on the other side, everybody.
Welcome back to Scream Scene. We just finished watching El Baron del Terror, aka The Brainiac, from 1962, directed by Chano Urueta. Not the best movie.
No.
I think you can kind of laugh at it, but it's a little dull.
Yeah, I think that's its biggest problem.
Yeah.
And we'll certainly talk more about it, I'm sure, but I think there's some wild ideas in this movie that like need to be seen to be believed, and some stuff that really had like, I think, some potential to be like crazy and fun. But unfortunately, this is
really
like
hampered by its poor pacing.
Yes, the movie's very boring, and I think it's boring because it's 20 minutes of story in a 77-minute runtime.
Yeah. It was only 77 minutes?
Yeah. But when 50 of that minutes is fucking wasting time.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, let me give the speed run, I guess, of the plot. It starts in 1661, and we see Baron Vitellius de Stera on trial by the Mexican branch of the Spanish Inquisition. Now, he's on trial for crimes including witchcraft, astrology, using the dead to predict the future, and seducing women.
Yeah, he's like a playboy necromancer. He's on trial for being the coolest dude in Mexico.
Now, at this point, when we come in, he's already been tortured and he's laughed in their faces, so they're kind of ready to just like burn this guy at the stake.
Yeah.
But he does have one friend who comes in and says, the entire time I've known the Baron, he's been a stand-up guy. And the Inquisition is like, liar.
How dare you defend this man?
200 lashes just for that. We're still burning dude at the stake. When he is at the stake, a comet passes above, and the Baron swears vengeance on these 4 judges, saying that he will return in 300 years when this comet comes back around at this latitude to come kill their descendants.
Yeah, the judges are supposed to be, it's supposed to be a secret tribunal, but he's got magic powers, so he knows who they all are.
Fast forward to 1961, and we follow Rolando and Victoria, 2 astronomy students, tracking this comet with their professor. As they're tracking it, the comet seems to disappear. So Rolando and Victoria go out to try to see where it may have landed. Now, the reason the comet has disappeared is because it lands on Earth. It seems more like a landing than a crashing, and the Baron appears out of the comet and takes the form of this monster with like kind of like a humanoid body, but he has like tubey hands and a demon or gargoyle face design that almost like pulsates with power.
And a big forked tongue.
A big forked tongue. So very much a witchcraft inspired look to this suddenly sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
Now, the Baron kills this wanderer in the woods and takes his suit and regains a more human form. And it's that form that he meets the astronomers as. The Baron begins tracking down these judges' descendants and ends up inviting them all to a party. He's using his full Christian name, by the way.
Yeah, he's just full up saying that he's this Baron, and he robbed a bank so he could have enough money to like pay for a big,
mansion
and a butler and stuff so that he could throw a high society party to track down these judges.
Yeah. So, meanwhile, the police are finding the Baron's victims. When the Baron kills his victims, he transforms back into that kind of demon-y headed creature and kind of goes to strangle them and then uses his forked tongue to kind of go towards the base of the skull. And we learned through autopsies that basically this tongue is like drilling into the base of the skull and then slurping out the entire brain.
Yep.
Nom nom nom. The police, because of that bank robbery, they also get an invite to this party because who knows if the thieves will strike here at this high society party. Now, each descendant who has been invited is pleased to meet the Baron until he comes knocking afterwards. His first set of victims are a historian and his daughter, then an engineer and his wife, a newlywed couple, and it turns out that our astronomer couple are also descendants, Victoria of one of the judges and Ronaldo of the Baron's friend.
Every time he kills these people, the modus operandi is like he puts Bela Lugosi hypnosis whammy on the man to freeze him in place so that he can make out with the lady for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then kill the two of them with the brain slurping method. And we were watching the movie joking that like this movie seemed to have been designed so that Abel Salazar could make out with as many hot young actresses as possible.
100%. The Baron invites the two to dinner and tries to separate them because he doesn't want to hurt the descendant of his friend, just wants revenge on the judges. So he separates the two, corners Victoria, and despite claims that he's actually super in love with her because she's so beautiful, he does try to slurp her brain. So she runs out, and Ronaldo tries to save her, but luckily the cops show up just in time with flamethrowers to burn the Baron alive. So then he gets burned. We see him go from like demony face fade to like human body, but like set from like 1661, and then go to like skeleton. And that's the end. We don't get any explanation for like why sci-fi monster alien.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. So that's the movie.
Yeah, they do show the police like doing their investigation and putting the pieces together throughout the movie. But what they don't show is why the police thought flamethrowers were necessary. I mean, it worked out.
They saw the thing.
Right.
I think honestly what happened is they did put together that like the connection between everyone is they all had ancestors who were at this trial. Mm-hmm. The Baron has the same name and he was supposed to be burned at the stake. So we'll just burn him, but without the stake.
I guess.
I'll take mine medium rare, please. Sorry.
So, to talk a little bit about this movie's pacing problems, I think there are two things mainly that slow this movie down. One is the editing style, which is extremely slow. The kill scenes and other like horror style scenes are edited in this way where I think they think they're building tension, but they're actually completely killing tension because of how long it goes on.
Cut from here as they look over, cut to them as they look over back to him, cut to him looking up at the comet, cut to them looking back up at the comet, cut to him looking back at them. Yeah,
exactly. Like it's kind of, it gets comical almost, like how much they just will intercut between the two same people staring at each other for like a solid minute. You're supposed to be getting the sense of him like hypnotizing his victims, but it just goes on for so long. And then within that slow editing style, you have the fact that basically all of the kill scenes are exactly the same.
Yeah.
There's like mild variation with a couple of them where he burns the bodies after killing them, but it's the same thing of like hypnotize the man into being paralyzed, hypnotize the lady into making out with him, change into demon monster form, slurp their brains. And it really, to me, shows why the focus of 80s slasher movies became the creative kills.
Yeah.
Because when you have a significantly long kill list like this, where it's like, okay, it's these 4 people and their companions, when you kill them all in the exact same way every time, and yet these are the set piece scenes of your movie, it means you have not 4 cool monster death scenes. You have 1, and it's repeated 4 times.
Yeah, like maybe they didn't have ADHD back then, but I need some variation, you know?
The other thing that makes this movie feel very slow is when the Baron isn't killing people, the scenes in between are just characters reciting the plot back and forth to each other.
Did you hear that the historian and his daughter died? I did hear that the historian and the daughter died. Isn't it strange that they died after we saw them at the party? Yes, at the Baron's party, and they seemed so alive then.
Did you know that everyone who's died so far was at the Baron's party?
Yes. And did you know that we happened to read all of this through the newspaper?
And that all of them were descendants of these people from this one trial?
And here are those people's names.
And here are those
yet
people's
again.
names. Repeated so many times.
Maybe it needed to be repeated again because I could not remember them.
Hey, have you heard anything about the comet?
Oh, the comet that came around in like 1661?
Nothing from London.
Nothing from Moscow.
Like, there's the cops, the Baron, the astronomers, everyone gets an opportunity to recap everything that's happened in the plot so far to each other at least once before the plot will move on again. Like, this is fucking Netflix writing taken to an extreme.
Yeah.
To the point where, like, nothing happens in the movie other than the Baron killing people and then people reciting the plot back and forth to one another and, like, going over this exposition over and over again.
I think it's important to note that we really only have, like, 2 sets. And any, I'll say exteriors are like not matte paintings, but like giant photograph backdrops.
Yes. Now, I will say, to this movie's credit, there are more than just 2 sets.
I mean, like main sets.
Yeah. But you are right. There are no exterior scenes. There's like one scene by the meteorite crash site that's like a Universal style, like
indoor set
of an exterior place, you know?
Yeah.
With like dead trees and fog and whatnot. But basically every exterior shot of like a car pulling up to a building or someone, you know, outside someplace is, as Sarah said, it's a gigantic photo blown up into a backdrop that the actors are just standing in front of. And I have to admit, I actually found the preponderance of this cost-saving measure kind of charming. It was one thing that I actually enjoyed in this movie, aside from the 1962 fashion on display. But this movie is very cheap, and it is very noticeable.
And the reason why I wanted to bring up the backdrops is because it's kind of reminiscent of that same problem of like the same kill every time. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, so the backdrop has changed, but we're all just still standing in front of it.
Yeah, it makes the movie feel very small and cheap and confined. There's not a lot of variety of like shot style or type here. Like we already said, the editing was bad, but also like everything's fully lit all the time, including the monster constantly. There's maybe like one shot in this whole movie where they try to go for more of a horror style cinematography where he's like killing the girl, the newlyweds, where it's the fiance gets trussed up in the shower and he goes for her after she faints on the bed, and it's like his shadow creeping like he's Count Orlok.
But it's weird because this is the third kill in
exactly.
or it's not even the third kill. It's like he's killed 3 other people besides the judge's descendants. So it's like, why are we being like spooky, not showing the whole thing now?
Yeah, no kidding. I wondered that exact same thing. The monster design is memorable.
I think it's really interesting. I think it's a neat way to kind of bridge comet astrology, witchcraft stuff, with like sci-fi stuff.
But it is in the like paper mache monster category for sure.
Yeah. I also thought it was like a neat idea that it's like pulsating.
It was kind of cool. It kind of made it feel weird and alive in a certain way. It's just, despite the plot being explained and reiterated constantly, this movie never explains why the Baron returns as a space monster who has superpowers, not just hypnosis, but he can turn invisible, he can pass through walls, and he sucks brains through his tongue out of people's skulls to survive. And even in human form, he needs to like eat from some like brains he keeps in a goblet in a cabinet every once in a while on the side. Like,
well, he doesn't always need to go out. He has brains at home.
Right. But like,
but also, so it's like, okay, you slurp the brains through your tongue, but these ones that you have like in this cabinet are whole.
Yeah.
So do you like regurgitate them later, or are these different brains?
None of this is explained at all. Like everything else is like, okay, yeah, he was like a powerful sorcerer back in New Spain times, and he comes back with this comet, and like he has sorceress magic powers. Great. Why is he a space monster demon that needs to eat brains to live?
Yeah.
There's no connection. The tube hands aren't really reminiscent of any Star Trek monster, but I think the fact that it's like sucking things really reminded me of that very first Star Trek monster. Oh, the salt vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's weird because the tube hands would make you think that that's the thing he's going to suck the brains out of, because everyone gets these two little holes on the base of their skull. But in the scenes, we clearly see it's through the forked tongue.
Yeah.
The head with like the beard and the nose and the forked tongue does have kind of like a medieval demon vibe, but the tube hands don't.
Yeah.
And the brain eating has nothing to do, like it's a very weird attempt to try and bridge gothic horror with sci-fi horror in a way that I don't think works well.
Yeah. Yeah, I also kept getting like an interesting vibe of like they're just doing like a vampire movie beats, but with a sci-fi monster. And also like part of the vampire beats, but also the idea of like, oh, a witch cursing their judges and coming back later. Like these aren't original ideas.
But that's never been what the Mexican horror films are about. The Mexican horror films have always been about remixing old ideas.
Yeah, but whenever they did remix old ideas, there was some kind of element that was new and exciting, right? Like even back to the very first few that we saw, it was like, here is this mythology in a Mexican context. Here, we don't get anything in a Mexican context except maybe the Spanish Inquisition element. So I think that's why I was so intrigued by this monster design, because that's like the one new thing.
Totally.
But they don't really take it to its full potential.
Yeah, it feels like there's an explanation missing. It feels like, that should inform why the cops decide to bring flamethrowers. I agree with you. Like, I think the Spanish Inquisition stuff at the start is like some of the most interesting stuff in the movie. It gives the movie like a unique atmosphere.
I certainly wasn't expecting them.
But like, yeah, there's a lot of like kind of potentially interesting concepts and ideas here that could have been cool if they were explored more, but they're just kind of like plopped down into this really like cookie cutter nothing burger movie.
Yeah. So to me, it makes sense why Urueta would kind of like hook onto the Blue Demon series and like, here's like a new angle, and have that kind of reinvigorate the kinds of movies that he makes. Because unfortunately with this movie, like not even Abel Salazar's smoky eyes can save this.
No kidding. I do like that we watched this in like a restored Blu-ray edition, seeing these Mexican films in a version other than like really subpar uploads with auto-translated subtitles is nice. It helps for us to be able to judge these movies on like their own merits and not sort of, it's like, okay, the print looks good and the subtitles are good, so I can fairly say that this is a bad movie and not just like I watched a subpar upload, Yeah,
the restoration, it looked great.
Yeah, totally. Great work coming out of Indicator. Unfortunately, the movie is bad.
Yeah.
So, how bad is it, Sarah?
Well, yeah, let's move on to ranking. So, some quick signposts here. You gave some in the context setting, but I'll just say that Urueta's highest ranking film on the list is La Bruja from 1954, ranked at number 161. And the lowest is the one we just recently watched, El Espejo de la Bruja, from 1962, ranked at 197.
Okay.
I am looking lower than that.
I am also looking much lower than that.
Okay. Would you like to go or would you like me to go?
Sure. So I started my explorations by going to the very bottom of the list and working my way up. This was some bottom shooter stuff for me. I think the major signpost I hit was like, there's a couple of Mexican movies right around. So at 304, there's La Casa del Terror from 1960. That is the one where they brought Lon Chaney Jr. down to portray a vampire mummy werewolf. And then right above that at 303 is El Mundo de los Vampiros from 1961, which is another Abel Salazar produced film. I think this is definitely better than La Casa del Terror, because we're not
we don't feel sad after.
Yeah, we're not exploiting a once great actor unfairly. But El Mundo de los Vampiros was bad, but I kind of enjoyed watching it more than this.
It was so like, not to continue punning, but so out of this world. Like, right. It was like vampires taking over the world.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it was a little wild, right?
Batmen?
Yeah.
Men who are bats?
Exactly. But on the other hand, there are maybe some elements that could appeal to this movie a bit more. Abel Salazar, always good to have him around. The monster's unique. There's like, the kills are very violent. Like, there's a lot of like gruesomeness on display here, whether it's the brains or like the burned up corpses or what have you. So I wanted to give this movie kind of a little bit of leeway to say it might be a little better than that, but it's definitely not as good as Scared to Death at 294 from 1947, which is the Bela Lugosi movie in the cheap color process that is bizarre but hilarious.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my range, is 294 to 304.
Okay, so I kind of overlap. Similar to you, I was drawn to El Mundo de los Vampiros. And because that movie has such a unique approach and point of view, and it sticks to it, and it like holds it to its logical conclusion.
Better climax.
Yeah. I thought that El Mundo de los Vampiros was better than The Baron of Terror, the Brainiac. But looking down at 308 is The Beast of Yucca Flats. And I was like, as challenging, not challenging, as boring and slow paced as The Baron of Terror is, it is still a movie. You can see that it is, in fact, a movie.
Which is like questionable when it comes to Beast of Yucca Flats.
So for me, my range was 303 to 308. But
cool.
I do hear what you're saying about like the creature design. Like El Mundo had quantity over quality.
Yes. Yes. I know it had the weird static like vampire masks.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say I would be okay with putting this honestly at the new 304, just below El Mundo, but just above La Casa del Terror.
Cool. Let's do that.
Okay. Entering the list at the new number 304, out of 327, just so we're clear, is El Baron del Terror from 1962, directed by Chano Urueta.
No shade to Urueta. Just sometimes your movies aren't good.
It's the right time to get out of the genre, clearly, for him.
Yeah. If you would like to see this list, you can go to our website, screamscenepodcast.com. There you can find links to the many episodes that we have mentioned today, as well as our appeals box. If you would like to contest this or literally any other ranking, you can drop us a line through our Ask box on Tumblr. You can reach out to us over email at screamscenepodcast@gmail.com or over Blue Sky or Patreon.
Scream Scene updates every other Wednesday on SoundCloud and pretty much all the other major podcasting apps. You can subscribe to the show using our RSS feed to make sure you never miss an episode. If you'd like to support the show, there are a number of ways you can do that. You can share us on social media. You can tell a friend about us. Word of mouth is kind of the best way for us to grow our audience. You can leave a rating or a review on the podcasting service that you use to listen to the show so that the algorithm kind of pushes it to more people. The other thing that we would really appreciate is if you headed on over to our Patreon and signed up to become a patron of the night. You can do so for as little as $1 a month. Patrons at the $5 and $10 level get access to bonus content when we are able to produce it, although there's a big library of previous stuff too to really dig into and enjoy. And you can do all of that over on patreon.com/screamscenepodcast.
So, Ben, what are we watching next week?
Next week, Sarah, we are sticking with Mexico, but kind of like a different group of filmmakers.
I mean, I would be very impressed if Urueta put out another film.
Yeah, no, different group of filmmakers, but it is still vampires. It is El Vampiro Sangriento, or The Vampire's Blood.
Okay. I am on a bit of a vampire kick because of the Vampire Lestat, so
true.
This works.
All right. Well, we'll see you then, creatures of the night.
Bye.
Bye.